Welcome to Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are on chapter 6 and we're talking about control. And this is hard stuff, but we're getting through it. We're like coming down the home stretch of the control. And we can let go of control about control. And we are going to start with questions. We have so many backed up questions. I'm not going to read Marriage Secrets today. This is Marriage Secrets. This is what we usually do every week. I usually read a couple of sections there. I am going right into the questions because we have so many backed up. Okay, Faggy, go ahead.
Okay, so Liana wants to know, sometimes my husband and I don't have much to talk about besides our children. And when we go on date nights and try not to talk about our kids, we find ourselves in a lot of silence. It's not awkward, but I guess a little sad. Do you have any advice for us?
Oh, it's a lovely question that, first of all, I'm proud of you that you're going on date nights, and I'm proud of you that you are working on this. That's good. So the issue about having a lot to talk about is that you want to mix it up. You're talking about kids, you're talking about your household, your vacations, if you take vacations, whatever. So you've got, a lot of logistic type of questions, which comprise a lot of the conversations between a husband and a wife. When you're getting these kind of lulls, it could be that you need to actually prepare for the time together, prepare for the dates. So for instance, it could be there are things you do together that you can discuss, and there are things you can do separate. So a thing you could do together is, let's say, after Shabbos meal, this kid goes to that play date, that you have a play date and they're playing in the playroom, and you and your husband, maybe your husband's napping, or you're napping, or you're both napping if you have childcare or whatever. But maybe after lunch for 15 minutes, you can even set a timer, you are working your way through a book, like a Gedolim book, or a Musar book, or even a Jewish, story book of the stories of the Maggid. Rabbi Pesach Cohen has, so many books there. You just read stories together, and then you think about them, and that becomes, before you go on date night, you look at your little notes, maybe you keep them in, you make a little index card or a phone on your phone, something like that. You have these things, and you say, oh, talk about, you didn't understand that last story because it ended with the mother going off, to Africa, and why did she leave, and what is going to happen with the kids, whatever. I don't know, making up the story, but you actually write down things that you've done together, questions you have about them, or points you want to make. And I would keep an actual list of topics to discuss. It will enliven it. It's good. It's kind of like you're the wife, he's just happy sort of sitting there and whatever. You are the wife, and you want to bring to him liveliness. And so whether it's stuff you've done together, like reading that book, or you yourself get into some kind of a hobby, like, you have no time for anything, but you can always get, while you're cooking, start listening to a great shiurim, on Torah Anytime, fantastic, you can, they play, you listen to one and then it plays the next one after that. And so you can get all your cooking done with yucky hands. You don't have to press the phone. So, then you're listening to lots of stuff, new ideas, new concepts, new things that you want to take on, new ways you want to grow. Write them on your little to share with husband list. Okay. And then you're preparing when you go into that date, you have a lot to talk about. And there's nothing wrong with silences, but in a sense, if it's a peaceful, you're just peacefully hanging out together, that's one thing. If you're at a restaurant and you're silent, that kind of speaks to the lack of common interests of stuff. So you want to find those things, and maybe you listen to Sherman, you bring it up to the date and whatever, and you go through your whole list and nothing really clicks. So now try a new set of things. Say, you've always loved trees, like something they do to you, and they you just look at a tree and it just kind of fills you with a sense of peacefulness or serenity. People get that with looking at the ocean. Some people get it from watching a swimming pool with a blue water, something like this. But you've always been interested in trees. Go by yourself or go to the library and get yourself a book on trees. Become an expert in learning what leaf is what. Oh, this is an oak and that's a pine. And this is a, whatever. Something. I'm being so silly, but I'm just saying something that expands your mind, expands your, the world, your appreciation of the world, your closeness to God in this way. And then you have what to talk about. You write it on your little list. So that would be my suggestion. Again, it's not an urgent problem. This is not something that you need to worry about, that there's something wrong with your relationship. Things are fine. This would bump it up because a husband, most husbands would like to have a wife who brings interesting things to the table, not maybe problems and complaints, which is what we do, which what we're in the habit of giving over, but just interesting things, always to be bringing something neat to the conversation. Okay, excellent question. Okay, Peggy, what's next?
Those were some great ideas.
Okay, thanks you.
Thanks for that.
Thanks.
Okay. So Hani wants to know, how often do you suggest couples do date nights?
So I'm actually just going to go by what Rabbi Schaefer says in the Shmooze, which is once a week. I don't know the answer to that. And I know that if I only had once a week to talk to my husband about all I would talk about, like I would burst. So I there's date night, and then there's like, while you're getting prepared for bed, you're talking, or while in the morning, you're going through the logistics of the day, or during the phone call, during the dinner, during the day, you're having a phone call, or during dinner, you're having a nice schmooze. If you can get a word in edgewise from the kids. Or after dinner, I do think that a couple needs to have ongoing logistics conversations, and every once in a while emotional conversations if he's doing things that are repeatedly hurting her, or vice versa, or there's other things that need to be discussed on a deeper level. I think that needs to all happen on a regular basis. The date night, if you and your husband go walking together for half an hour every night to get exercise, so then the date night may not be as, maybe that's the problem with the first lady at the when she goes out to dinner with her husband, she's all talked out. So that could be part of that thing. But in general, I would follow that guideline if you can, once a week, and then many, many more smaller conversations or deep emotional conversations as needed. Very, very important. Very good question. Okay, go ahead.
So Nahama is asking, if we're trying to be like a Tzelem Elokim, shouldn't we be trying to be in control?
Shouldn't we be? Say that again. Shouldn't he or we? I missed the word.
So I believe she means to ask, shouldn't we be trying to be in control? Maybe she means to say if she shouldn't be trying to be in control.
Right. So there's no source for that. And as much as Hashem might be in control, somebody can go and reach out their hand to steal something. And even though he's in control, he lets them do what they need to do. So we just let go. Just try it. Try this at home. You'll see beautiful things coming into your home by trying this. That's the most powerful. Okay, good. Good question. Okay, go ahead, Peggy.
Okay, so Bela asks, so when in public, and your husband says something that's absolutely not right, let's say a date or a day, then you shouldn't criticize him?
Very excellent. 100% do not say a word. So you're sitting at the Shabbos table, and everyone's sitting around. There's a rabbi on this side. There's another rabbi on that side. Your kids are all around or whatever. And your husband's giving a Devar Torah, and he says, oh, yes. Well, Moshe Rabbeinu took 2 of every animal, and they put 2 animal. Moshe Rabbeinu put 2 animal of every type of animal into the teva. And then Moshe Rabbeinu fed them and whatever. And you're like, oh my gosh. Did anyone catch on the problem here? It's Noah. Okay, it's Noah. It's not Moshe Rabbeinu, right? So everyone's like, Leah, are you out of your mind? Like everyone at the table is sitting there thinking, my husband's, a dummy. I shouldn't say anything. Here's the thing, ladies. Now, after you've said something, now they both think he's a dummy. And they think, and his wife doesn't even respect him. How's that? Like, yikes, yikes. So here's the issue. The only thing to do in that case, you guys know it, put on the duct tape. Put on the duct tape. There's nothing good. He says, oh, well, last Tuesday we were at, excuse me, it was last Wednesday. Like, really? Like, really? You're going to make him look bad, and you're going to, like, it makes zero difference. Now, let's say he says, oh, next Thursday, let's all meet for lunch. And you're like, it's next Wednesday, really? Right? So then you need to say, is it possible you mean Wednesday? Not, it's not Thursday, next Wednesday. Wednesday's the 26th, not Thursday. Really? This is the man that God gave you, and that's how you take care of him. Hello, right? You gotta use your bini Sarah, your seichel, to take care of him like he needs to be taken care of. So 99% of the time, you are saying nothing. You're using the duct tape. You're not saying anything. And afterwards, if someone else says to him, "Oh, it wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu, it was Noah," and your husband's like, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say something right then and there? You made me look like a fool in front of all the rabbis." You can tell him. You can say, I didn't want to contradict you. First of all, it's usher to contradict you in public. I didn't want to contradict you in public. And secondly, everyone makes a mistake, and I'm sure they just assume you made a mistake. And if I had corrected you, it would have not only embarrassed you in public, which is usher, but it also would show everybody in the table that I didn't respect you enough to hold my tongue. He'll get it. He'll get it. And actually he'll feel, even at the time, he might not admit it. That's it. He'll be very glad that you took care of him. And the more you do this, and the more you get into the habit of respecting him and showing him that respect, even when he says the wrong thing and you don't contradict him in public, the stature in his own mind is going to go higher, and he's going to work harder to take care of you. That's just the natural way. Hopefully, God willing. I mean, hopefully, look, in everything I'm saying, we hope to see bracha and hope to witness it with our own eyes. Does it mean that if we do the right thing and we take care of shalom bayis, and that's our priority, and we take care of our husband, and we're seeing nothing good in our life, does that mean nothing good came? No, it means we didn't see it. It means, God forbid, we were supposed to get in a car accident the next thing, and because of all the shalom bayis we brought into the home, Hashem made the other car stop at the stop sign and made us go through and let us go through. So it is guaranteed this will bring blessing into your life. Okay, beautiful question. Okay, go Fagi.
So this is also more on this subject. Dina, she wants to know, my husband tells me that sometimes I put him down or I'm controlling to him in public, and truthfully, I'm completely oblivious while I'm doing it. It pains me so much to know that I do this and I hurt him, but I don't even realize that I'm doing it. He's also especially sensitive, and he knows and admits this. How can I become more aware of what I'm saying when I'm not naturally as sensitive as my husband is?
Fantastic. So it starts out with a very, sometimes the hardest thing in the world to do is to look ourselves in the mirror and to own up to where we are holding on a certain area. And I am so impressed with you that you are doing that. That's going to stand you in good stead. And Hashem, you'll have siyata d'shmaya because you are working hard on this. So kol hakavod. However, I'm going to give you homework that is very gruesome and hard, but this will help you a great deal, which is go buy a journal, go to the pharmacy or the drugstore or whatever you get these stationary stores. Is there even such a thing anymore? So you're going to go and you're going to get yourself a notebook and a pen. And you're going to ask your husband, please do me the favor. I'm working on this so hard, but I don't even have a radar for this. Every time I say or do something that is not supportive or that is hurtful or that is whatever, I want to write it down in this notebook and keep track of it and write the date and the time of when I did it so that my brain, it might take a week, it might take a month, it might take a year, but eventually my brain will learn, I'm going to have to, this is probably one of those things I'm going to have to write down, and then you will start doing this process instead of saying, oh, my husband never comes home on time, which he took he's sensitive, and that really hurt his feelings. Like, well, you think I'm not there? Everyone's going to think I'm not responsible. Yeah, I'm a little late. I get traffic, but why did you have to tell everybody that? Whatever it is, I hurt my husband. So eventually, so you'll just say it and he'll tell you afterwards and you write it down. Then eventually you'll come to the place where you'll say, oh, my husband never comes on time. And then you'll think to yourself, oh no, I'm going to have to write this down. And and then you can fix it. And you can say, he never comes on time because he works so hard for our family to bring in parnasa or something. You'll sort of get creative on ways you can mitigate it if it already came out of your mouth. That's the first step. The next step is not saying it at all, okay? But the first step is coming by looking yourself in the mirror and taking that harsh reality, writing it down on paper, when it happened, what it happened, why it hurt him, how it hurt him. Really do it in a way that it goes into deep, so that your goof gets trained in how to behave like your neshama wants you to behave, which is your neshama wants you to bring your husband closer and to show him respect in public and everywhere else. And this is one way to do it. You might get creative and think of other ways of, what has worked in the past. Look in your past and see, was there ever a time where you were about to say something and you didn't? If that is the case, then you can build on your strengths. It's much easier to build on strengths than to overcome the areas that are harder. They always say when you've got 10 things and you on your list of things you want to do, usually start with the easiest one because it gets you rolling. Some people think, oh, get over the hard one, but then you never get to it. So in terms of character building, I'm talking about, that's very, very in Rav Salanter, Rav Yerucham, I'll talk about how going for the easy, the low hanging fruit. So that's what I would do in this case, is try and figure out when it's worked for you and then try and replicate that. Excellent question. I'm very proud of you, and Hashem continues to give you koyach to get better and better at this. You'll feel the closeness. It'll be very motivating because you'll see the fruits of your labors. Excellent question. Okay, Faggy.
Leah, that was wonderful to hear.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay, Dahlia, she's asking, my husband works really hard and I want to let him rest over Shabbos. But now that we have little children running around, I really need his help. He's recently expressed to me that he isn't enjoying his Shabbos as much anymore because of his lack of sleep. And it made me so sad. Although it definitely, I understood him. Since we can't afford extra help on Shabbos and we also don't live near family, should I let my husband rest and have his Shabbos menucha, even though it would make Shabbos a lot harder on me?
Very, very good question. So first of all, just in the question that you asked, I want to give you a kol hakavod and tell you, I'll give you a big hug. You did. It's a beautiful question, and it's not an easy parsha to figure this out. So the issue is, it's so many variables that I can't ask you. For instance, if you're a full-time mom and during the week your kids are in school all day and you can nap, then yes, you should probably take Shabbos as your day of voda, to take care of your husband. That's one thing. If you're working full time and he's working full time, then the metric changes, and then you have to, it has to be a little bit different. But there's a lot of other different ways to solve this. You just have to get super creative, and you can talk to friends or girlfriends or, rebbitzins, rabbis, somebody who would be able to help you be creative about coming up with plans. But for instance, it could be, I don't know the ages of your children. It could be you have a neighbor who lives nearby, and you say every other week she takes your kids 1 week, and now she's got a house full of kids and she had to get extra candies and extra whatever. And the following week, all the kids are at your house, and that you get extra candies and give them an extra Shabbos party and whatever. That's a free way to get a little bit more childcare. Another thing you could do is let's say you own a piano, and there's and piano a little bit in your background. You go say to the neighbor, there's a teenage girl there, and you say, listen, if you come on 2 hours on Shabbos afternoon to just help me with the kids, I'll give you free piano lessons, or I'll let you use my piano, my swimming pool, or my piano while you, in exchange. And you can bring us, if you're not a teacher, you can bring a teacher in here and use the piano once a week. Things like that. You have to really get creative to try it. I'm saying if you are a full-time mom and your husband really should get his nap, or you really feel like you would love to provide him with that nap, you can come up with all kinds of things. It could be that your kids are at an age where they actually could play by themselves. So it might mean that you have to buy, Magnetiles or the 700 box of Legos, whatever, and say, look, I'm going to buy you the Legos, but that means from, after we finish lunch for an hour and a half, and here's a clock or here's a timer, and I can't use a timer on Shabbos, but like a big numbers or something like that. When these numbers go or whatever, then you can wake us up. But you have to play in this room and you can't leave the room, and I will get you the magnet tiles, plus I'll buy you a dollhouse. If I do those two things, I'm just saying these are just creative ways to think of a way to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish while not being on your husband's husband. But beautiful question. And you should have a lot of creativity or find a friend who does that can brainstorm this with you. Good question. Okay, Faggy, what's next?
Okay, so Ayelet is asking, whenever anything goes wrong in our lives, my husband's first reaction is to blame someone, usually me or our child. I know this is how his family was growing up, but it makes me feel like we're not a team solving problems together. I'm so busy defending myself that we can't focus on making things better. I've talked to him about it, but he says he feels like he's justified in blaming.
Okay, so I don't know if this is possible in her case, but there is a way to do this in a way that brings a lot of humor into the household. Now, they might be so far gone that she's too resentful to do this, but if she can get herself a place, let's say, I don't know what he's blaming her on. It would be nice if we had examples or whatever, but let's say he's blaming her on, she didn't send the invitation in time. And so the wedding, whatever, so now they didn't hold a spot for a wedding and the whole family's upset because are you coming? Are you not coming or whatever? And it is her fault, let's say. Her way to deflect that is to say, hi, how are you? It's all my fault. We aren't going to the wedding. Your parents are mad. It's all my fault. Like that. In other words, if she takes the blame, you don't want to be a victim and you don't want abuse. But if she starts taking all of the blame for everything, it eases the whole situation. So I'll tell you, when someone says to you and you're like, I can't believe you left the butter out and I had guests coming and I couldn't serve them and do whatever. And if they say, well, I did not, and you always leave the butter, whatever, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Whereas if someone says, oh, you're right, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. You're absolutely right. Like, oh, all of the steam, all of the venom, whatever, it's gone. Somebody says to you, I can't believe that you say this to one of your kids, and you say, you're so thoughtless. You slammed the door last night and woke me up. And if the kid said, I'm sorry, you'd be still. But if they said, oh, I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I'm going to really try harder next time. You're done. You don't need to chastise them anymore. You're done. So this really might work for her. It's worth a try. No guarantees. It's worth a try for her to just take the blame of everything. She knows that it's kind of not, what's the word I'm looking for? That it's not, in other words, if she's taking the blame and she just feels like worse and worse and worse about herself, that's probably not a good way to grow yourself. But if she knows, listen, I'm going to take the blame for everything, whether it's my blame or not, just to ratchet down the tension in the house. It's worth a try. That's what I would try. It's not a guarantee. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. If I knew more details, I might be able to answer better, but give that a try and circle back with us. If that works, let us know. If it doesn't, then we'll try and figure out more solutions.
Danielle is asking, what if my husband doesn't mind that I'm controlling? I think he likes that I run our home like a tight ship. He's happy to go with the flow. He's very easygoing by nature, and he's not very particular about things. Whereas I'm the opposite. He's never expressed that I'm too controlling.
That's good. So don't fix what ain't broke is first of all, but also I would examine, there's a difference between being geschickt, which is, how do you translate geschickt? On top of things? How would you translate that? Being on top of it.
I do like the bills and I do all appointments and I take the kids to all their extracurriculum lessons. Like he doesn't mind that I do that. I would assume that's what you mean.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. So fine. So let's say that there's a difference between being geschickt and, being on top of your game and micromanaging in your own life. and being controlling. Managing the life well, we're all obligated to do, to run our world in a very good way. We're all obligated to do that. But being controlling means that we are making all of the decisions, could care less what he thinks, because it's our way or the highway. If he doesn't care, then it's not being controlling. It's like he doesn't really care whether we have spaghetti or pizza for dinner, if he doesn't care. So that's not being controlling. Being controlling is that you never let your husband get any input. He's not the man running the house. Now, what I mean by that is you might be running the kitchen and getting your kids to the lessons on time and all of the things, and running the household very well. That's fine. That's your bailiwick. But if he says, I think we should, we should go to Pesach program, and you're like, oh my gosh, no way. I hate those. That I want to be home with the kids. That's called controlling. The way a non-controlling and influencing wife would behave is, I think we should go to a Pesach program. She would say, oh, why do you want to go there? Oh, you like the food. Is that the only reason you like it? Oh, well, you this and, whatever. And what do you think about the idea that, then our kids really won't learn ever how to make the Pesach or whatever? I have no judgment. I'm just like throwing out how you have conversations and express your feelings in a way that wasn't grabbing control. So then he says, well, no, I like the food. So you're like, oh, would if I catered in some really fancy food, we could save a lot of money on room and board and whatever. And then we could also be with all the other kids because they could come for various meals, where if we go away, we won't be able to have that. If I bring in all kinds of fancy food, would that do it for you? Yes. Okay, good. We're good. So it's kind of working with him. And it's fine to be in control of the areas of your life that you need to control, but not controlling your husband. Is that clear? You got it? Okay, so let me give the homework. The homework is to look in the mirror and do self-reflection and examine yourself of what is stopping you from letting go of control. And it's different for every person. I mean, you can have similarities, but for one person, they can't let go of control because their mother controlled them their whole life and now they want control, whatever. Or they just feel they have never learned to trust their husband or to respect their husband or to look up to their husband. And so they don't trust his judgment. And as we spoke about in the last class, is that when you give him many things, then you can trust him more. And the way to work on yourself there is to learn how to be trustworthy yourself. That's the best way to create a trustworthy environment in your home. So, but in any case, the point is, the homework is to look at yourself in the mirror and try and discern what blocks you from letting go of control. You might have to write a notebook or journal or something like that, or put it into your phone, something like that. What stops you from letting go of control? Okay, it's Leah Richheimer. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next time.